This is the Fox 5 News Block.
Demonstrators hitting the streets this morning as a judge weighed in on the detention and possible deportation of Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Antoine Lewis. Welcome to the News Block. Our top story in just a moment, but first, a live look outside at a very gray day. Let's bring in Liv Johnson to talk more about it.
Hi, Antoine. Well, I know we've all been having such a good time enjoying these warmer temperatures, but as you can see the graphic behind me, we are a decent amount cooler than we were this time yesterday, about 10 degrees here in New York City, but we're still hanging on to mild temperatures. We're still above our average high for this time of year, which is about 47 or 48. So we're looking at 52 out on Long Island, 53 in New York City, 54 for Newark, and then up in the Hudson Valley, still in the 40s, but just barely 48 degrees right now, and 51 for Hartford. Now, we do have winds that have shifted. So yesterday we were getting winds from the south, today coming from the north, so bringing some cooler air, but we're not dealing with much of a breeze at all, between about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Wind gusts are pretty calm as well. They'll remain calm for the next few days until they pick up over the weekend. Now, our satellite radar has been mainly clear for the last few days, but as we've gotten through this afternoon, we've seen more cloud cover roll through. There's a system moving to the north of the city. Might bring some moisture for places in Connecticut, up in the Hudson Valley, Monticello, maybe a little bit of rain and even a wintry mix, but nothing that will stick. Even the rain is going to be very minimal if it even reaches ground. Other than that, we'll hang on to clouds for the foreseeable future, and we do have some rain coming on Sunday. Antoine? All
right, we'll see in a little bit. Today, Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil appearing before a judge. The judge is weighing in on the detention and possible deportation of him. Arthur Chien was inside the courtroom and is live for us in Lower Manhattan with more.
Antoine, Mahmoud Khalil, we knew he was arrested on Saturday, but we learned that by the end of Sunday, he had already been whisked off to an ICE deportation facility in the state of Louisiana, and we've learned that that's where he will likely stay through next week. His case was heard here in the Southern District Courthouse at Foley Square in Lower Manhattan to basically answer two things: where he should be held and in which courtroom does his case belong. As for the hearing itself, it was a packed courtroom. This garnered a lot of attention. The courtroom was packed with staff, journalists, as well as members of the public, and that's separate from the over 1,000 protesters who are across the street outside. Now, federal prosecutors inside argued that because Mr. Khalil en route to Louisiana was also brought through New Jersey, that it's in one of those states that his case should now proceed, perhaps looking for a friendlier court. But Judge Jesse Furman, who put the stop on the deportation, indicated he's not inclined to go that way, although he does not have to decide today. He wants briefs from both sides by the end of this week. Now, lawyers for Khalil, who was born in Syria, say the Trump administration is targeting their client because of his views on Israel. They spoke outside the courthouse right after the hearing.
In retaliation for that, he was moved to Louisiana to take him away from his lawyers, to take him away from accessing this court, to take him away from his family and his support network.
The government's position is that Mahmoud has views that are similar to Hamas, namely that Mahmoud believes in Palestinian human rights and the end to an ongoing genocide. And it is for that reason, as the White House and the Department of Homeland Security have said, that he has been arrested, detained, and potentially removed.
Now, Mr. Khalil has not been charged with a crime. We are told he does not have a criminal history. His wife is 8 months pregnant. They're expecting their child next month. Still, U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, has said that he had no right to be in this country to begin with, no right to a student visa, no right to a green card, although he did obtain those legally. Still, officials say because of the leadership role he had in disruptions to the private college campus of Columbia University last year and Barnard University this year, and his support for Hamas, that he went too far.
This is an individual who organized group protests that not only disrupted college campus classes and harassed Jewish American students and made them feel unsafe on their own college campus, but also distributed pro-Hamas propaganda, flyers with the logo of Hamas. That is what the behavior and activity that this individual engaged in. And I have those flyers on my desk. They were provided to me by the Department of Homeland Security. I thought about bringing them into this briefing room to share with all of you, but I didn't think it was worth the dignity of this room.
Again, right now, Mr. Khalil is being held at an ICE deportation facility in the state of Louisiana. That is where he will stay likely through all of next week. The merits of his case, they're not up to debating that yet. They're just trying to figure out where he should be and where his case should be heard. That's the latest from the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Arthur Gian, Fox 5 News. Antoine, back to you.
Arthur, thanks for that report. As Arthur mentioned, demonstrators hitting the streets today as that hearing was taking place. With that, Duarte Geraldino continues our team coverage. Hi, Duarte.
Hey there, Antoine. Roughly 1,000 people crammed into Foley Square. They were here to support Mahmoud Khalil. They say that his detention and being swept away to Louisiana is really an affront to them. They also point out this, they say, is more than about just one man. Release Mahmoud! The crowd was loud and determined. Protesters held signs that read "Free Mahmoud" and "Stop Political Arrest." Many also wore masks, while others waved Palestinian flags. They say Khalil's arrest is an attack on free speech and part of a broader crackdown on student activism. And the protests were not just here at the courthouse. On Tuesday, demonstrators clashed with police in Washington Square Park. One person was arrested and 11 others were issued summonses for disorderly conduct. Organizers say police presence has been increasing at these demonstrations, but they're not going to back down.
It's normal for people to be afraid right now. There's really heinous threats being, waged against students right now. But students are standing strong.
What Trump is saying basically is that if you disagree with him and his policies, you could be detained. Doesn't matter what your legal status is at this point. They're shredding the Constitution as we know it.
And Khalil was arrested Saturday in New York and sent to a detention center in Louisiana. The White House says he is being deported on foreign policy grounds, but protesters call this government retaliation. They believe Khalil is being used as an example to silence dissent, but organizers say they won't be silent. Already, there are demonstrations being planned by student groups at Columbia, NYU, and CUNY. At Foley Square, Duarte Geraldino, Fox 5 News. Antoine?
All right, Duarte, stay safe. Breaking news to tell you about from Long Island, where health officials are monitoring a measles case. Here's what we know. The Suffolk County Department of Health is reporting that one case involving a child under the age of 5 who was unvaccinated, and that the child was a patient at Cohen's Children's Medical Center earlier this month. The hospital says it is now looking into several other patients who may have been exposed to that child. We'll keep you posted. To the nation's capital now, where the Department of Education is getting ready to cut half of its staff. Supporters of the DOE rallied at headquarters as cuts made by the Trump administration now go into effect. Some 1,300 workers are expected to be out of a job. At the direction of the president, Education Secretary Linda McMahon is slashing federal education bureaucracy, arguing education is getting worse and control will go back to the states. Democrats opposed to the cut say grants for higher education will suffer, along with essential services as well as oversight. Also developing right now, the president's 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum coming into the U.S. is now in effect. The tax hits key allies like Canada, South Korea, and the European Union. But some of the countries are ready to fight back, and economists are watching just how the markets will react. Fox's Rebecca Castor has more.
Should I get in?
While car shopping at the White House Tuesday, President Trump did not seem too concerned about the U.S. economy, even as the markets take hits.
I think this country is going to boom. But as I said, I can do it the easy way or the hard way. The hard way to do it is exactly what I'm doing, but the results are going to be 20 times greater.
The hard way equals taxing foreign goods, with his 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imports taking effect today.
Our steel and aluminum industries have actually applauded these tariffs because, again, they know it's going to grow their industry here.
Wall Street has not been applauding, though. The Dow plunged over 470 points yesterday after Trump threatened to double the tax on Canadian steel and aluminum. He was responding to Ontario's surcharge on electricity for U.S. customers, but Ontario's premier later backed down.
We have both agreed, let cooler heads prevail. We need to sit down and move this forward.
Meanwhile, CEOs are trying to adapt to Trump's changing trade policies.
I think the business community understands what the president is trying to do with tariffs, but we're going to have to watch and see how this all plays out.
Several countries are preparing to hit back, with Canada and the European Union planning to implement their own retaliatory tariffs. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
The White House welcoming Irish Prime Minister today. Now, this is a traditional visit ahead of St. Patrick's Day. Prior to his arrival, Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin stressed the importance of the relationship between the U.S. and Ireland. Martin is set to join Trump and lawmakers for a lunch on the Capitol and concluding with a reception at the White House. This morning, Rex Heuermann, the suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer, was in a Long Island courtroom. The judge ruled that a Fry hearing will take place on March 28. Now, this hearing determines the admissibility of DNA evidence. In this case, it's referring to a hair that was found on a victim which allegedly belonged to Heuermann.
The science that we're seeking to use is generally accepted in the relevant scientific community. It was properly done and therefore can be relied upon.
To take somebody's liberty away, to actually use it in some states where there's a death penalty, to execute somebody based on their analysis and this what's called likelihood ratio, their statistical analysis, it's completely faulty.
The judge has yet to rule on a request by the defense for 5 separate trials. Prosecutors say the evidence is all the same and only one trial is necessary. Let's take a live look outside where earlier we told you it was kind of gray and a little cool, but we've been fooled. We've been kind of teased with warmer temperatures, Liv.
I know it's still going to be pretty mild through your weekend into your weekend. But yeah, we definitely have some clouds that have returned, cooler temperatures, some weekend showers mainly on Sunday. So that's going to hinder your St. Patrick's Day plans if those are outside. Currently, we're in the 50s, so not doing too bad. 53 for New York, 52 over LaGuardia, 53 and more sunshine down in Atlantic City. The rest of the Northeast kind of the same, hanging on to warmer temperatures to the south of us. D.C. is enjoying 66 degrees right now, so is Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, cooler for Boston where it's 41 and definitely cooler for Buffalo where it's just 38 degrees right now. So we've had high pressure giving us clear skies now. We're kind of in this in-between. This area of low pressure is going to give us a chance of seeing a few sprinkles of some rain later this evening, but those chances remain slim. Our lows will be in the 30s, 39 for New York, 36 out on Long Island. We have 33 for Hartford and 32 for Poughkeepsie. Now tomorrow we drop a couple degrees again, but still going to be above average. We'll see 49 in New York, 48 out on Long Island. We'll still hang on to 54 Poughkeepsie and Hartford, but lots of cloud cover. Friday we stay in the 50s again. Saturday, Sunday mostly cloudy and also a bit more breezy. And then we see our biggest chance for showers on Sunday. Antoine?
All right, Liv, I'll take it. That's your news block for now, everybody. I'm Antoine Lewis. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune into the 5 o'clock news on Fox 5 and right here on the Fox Local app for all of the day's headlines as it develops. We'll see you again tomorrow. Stay safe.